because I have some things I want to show you guys about color and some important things to know about color. A lot of people, especially now, people are really into coloring their hair. And as we get into warmer weather, a lot of people who've colored their hair before, maybe before they locked their hair and they got newer locks, they like to color their hair. You might have gray coming in. If you're like me, as soon as I got into the 30s and had my daughter, it was like my hair just was like, nah, no color. It was all white. So I do root cover. And there are some people who do that and or color for, just to jazz up their hair. They might do parts of it. I know some people who do multiple colors, or they might do the whole entire head. So there's different types of coloring that people can do, and there's different ways that people are coloring. So we're going to talk about those different ways and how that affects your hair. Hi, okay. You can hear and see me okay? All right. So there's 4 major areas I want you to understand about color, and I'm going to talk about and show you this client that not even this weekend, recently I did a retightening on her. You might remember her. Hey, okay, you joined over here from IG. Okay, all right, perfect. So you'll get a better shot of what some of the photos, and you might remember her because I had put her updates on IG. But before we start, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. If you go back far enough, I had my hair colored when I got my locks installed, January 1st and 2nd, 2008. I could not find my hair color to do my roots. So I was like, darn. So I asked my loctician, I could not find my color to do my roots. And when can I color it again? And she was like, well, we wait about 6 months to see how your hair locks. In about 6 months is a good time if you want to color your hair. Since then, up until now, remember I started providing these services at the end of that year, that 2008, all the way to now. So much more layers and other information I can put around color. So it's not just that simple, but there's so many different factors that could make that answer different. It depends on the color. It depends on your hair, how your hair is locking. It depends on a lot of factors. We're going to talk about one particular person in particular. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. I'm going to share audio too. And I'm all over the place. Okay. So I just wanted to show you guys a quick picture. That's my hair, my very first photo shoot. So the ends of my hair, I actually have my hair lightened. And I used an Herbitint. I used to just be the spokesperson for Herbitint. I loved that they were more natural based, plant derived. And so I wanted my whole head the color that my tips are here, and I could not find the color, and I didn't do it. But my hair can't handle color in general. Prior to that, I was doing like Dark and Lovely, just crazy box colors. I was just not crazy, but I wasn't using any like professional insight. I was just grabbing whatever color I saw in a store, maybe the one that was cheapest, and I was throwing it in my hair, and my hair was always damaged, trying to recover. So I'm going to show you, if you remember this client. Now, on a personal note, she went through chemo treatments. She's a beautiful woman that's used to have locks in the past, and she went through like rounds of chemo. And so her hair is a little thinner. If you notice at the top, I'll play it again, that it's a little thinner. You can see her scalp, but you see it's red. It's that fire red. I didn't know her original color. I met her, her hair was already colored. So we, hold I was like, okay, cool. She followed instructions from her consultation, which was done online. She said she was advised to color hair prior. She did tell me she has graying. I was like, okay, you just color prior. We'll wait about, a rule of thumb is about 6 months, but we'll take it and see how your hair does through that process, and we can adjust that. So,
then we'll see how it goes, at least for the first session or two after.
Okay.
Your texture's a little softer.
Yeah,
Because I watched it last night, and I watched it purposely so it could be more, but it came out so straight.
let me see how I
Oh, after you colored it, it came out straight?
No, after I watched it last night, because I watched it, I didn't want to watch it during the week because I know my hair sometimes comes out straight.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched.
So that's the before. All right. So there's us doing, now her hair, if you heard in the video, she said her hair was straight and it looked really nice. We got all the hair in, that's us doing the install process there. And she said after she washed it, it was straight. So her hair didn't have a whole lot of curl. It wasn't the color affecting her curl pattern that she said she noticed just, well, you know what? That's a good question. She said she noticed it was straight after she washed it. I was trying to assess to see if it was the color or what, but it was straight. From her consultation, her hair also looked straight, kind of straighter with a slight curl to it.
So,
all right.
The new
Now,
girl. So,
look
how most of them are intact. It's just the bottom row. Some on the bottom. I think your hair texture is off the hair. Mm-hmm. But they're intact. You have hair very similar to the mannequin that we train on.
That's before we did the retightening.
Look at that. Wow. But it's been longer than 6 weeks due to circumstances with scheduling. Yeah. But I will have to just create these locks over again down here, and then we'll retighten, and then I will come back. Oh, hey guys, so that's
all right. So I was going live. This is a portion of a live that I was doing. And so color can often change texture. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. And so what she was telling me that she was getting from a professional stylist was she was getting the color deposited to cover her grays. And she wasn't lifting and, didn't have jet black hair that she was trying to turn blonde, but she was just depositing colors. And she did go to a professional, and the professional stated that they were familiar with how to color locks. There's a little side story to that in a minute. Let me just do a quick check really quickly. Okay, you guys are here. All right. And so hold on a second. We're going to go back to her. And so he did the color initially. And so she waited. Sorry, y'all. I can't multitask. About 3 months.
So,
before she,
look how here, most of them are intact.
She waited about 3 months before she got the color again on the roots. And when she went back, we spoke about this. So she asked me, can I get, the gray is kind of coming in a lot. And can I get it colored? And after I retightened her hair this time, I said, I think that with these special instructions, you should be okay. She did really, really well after her install with maintaining her locks. Even though her hair was not as curly, even she had a much looser curl, she did impeccable with keeping integrity. Like I showed in this video, only that back bottom row came a little bit of loose, like 99% of her locks or 95% of her locks were intact. So she had done a really good job. I felt that if the professional only focused on the roots and did not extend the color all the way down to her tips, did not try to do a whole head color, just the roots, that she would be okay. When she got there, when she told him that, there's a couple of things that he said that I was just like, you know what? as professionals, the thing is, he saw that she's had her hair installed, the quality of her work before she got it colored, and he just dismissed it in a way. It was like, well, first of all, these sister locks and Microlocs, she was like, well, the Microlocs, it's the same thing. So he disregarded the professionalism. That's one part. And she was like, I was trying to tell him, I said, that's not even the concern. The concern is that he was instructed to focus on the roots, and he went all the way down her locks. He's like, because she was putting toner, he was doing a bunch of things. He said he had to do it. And that's why I said, let me show you how her hair looked after, okay? It's not horrible, but it definitely affected her hair.
It's just
let's go to the next one. This is just one of the videos I did from that one. That retightening. So that was her first retightening. That's 8 weeks later. See the gray roots. Her hair's still nicely intact. Remember, she's thinning, recovering chemo. Once her hair is doing great, especially considering the length. Right? So that was that one. She came back after the color. This is how her
It's not bad. I'm just doing like a before and after of how the color has changed the texture for learning purposes.
They changed the color.
That's the part I did. That's the part that needs to be done.
The way the lock was. Like it loosened up a little bit, so I'm closing it up.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. Hair's loosening out. The texture slightly changed. And she still did a good job trying to keep it together, but you definitely can see where the ends are loosening up.
Okay, so
I wanted to just make a note of that. Although depositing is a safer alternative than lifting, when there's a lot of processing done, there's the toner. He was doing a bunch of other different things, and he was taking it down the whole entire lock. If your locks are newer, this is where it's more of a concern. We're not talking about fully mature locks or locks, even fully mature locks. Texture can change, but I'm talking about here it's even more susceptible because it's still in the locking process. It's not fully locked, and hers were brand new, but I did give her an okay for retouch-up because of how well she did it. But what we noticed was that those ends were loosening up. So this is me going through after retightening. Wait, no, I'm going to show you a video. I'm talking, that's why I'm trying not to talk over myself. But do you see the puff, the looseness? So we added an extra hour and a half to her appointment just to close up as much as we could, and we were very time limited. So we have to now carry over closing that up to the next session. But that is going to be the focus. We're not going to leave that like that and keep it puffy like that. While her hair is still locking, we're going to make sure we pull in that side. I did a lot more pulling in, but definitely a difference from what the color was doing. Okay, so that's after going in and closing up the puffy loose parts. But you can see a difference there. One of the main things I wanted to say about, she went to a professional, which was good. She did ask, she did have conversations. She did go to him with instruction from her stylist who installed her locks, who I think as professionals, what I was saying earlier on my IG Live about knowing to respect our service. And if so I'm not going to I can tell him what to focus on because I've installed her hair, but I'm not the color expert per se for, his role. So I stayed in my lane, but in respecting each other's professional opinion, the fact that he said, well, I have to do it this way. I think before the service was started, after she told him, just focus on the roots, that he could say, I can do it or I can't do it, as opposed to just dismissing the whole entire process. But this is not a worst case scenario. This is just the interesting takeaway I got from the convo about how we, professionals interact, especially because this is a niche market, and coloring locks in general, it does require different skill and expertise. But when you're talking about these particular locks, the way we started them, with that interlocking interwoven pattern and her hair texture, did require a slight, customization of how the service should be provided. And so what I did not want to happen was for her to have extra time in the chair for me to repair that level of looseness that was happening. And so that's why she was instructed to say what she did. There are other people who have had their root touched up. Let's say they have, dark hair, black hair, and the grays just really contrast, and they only focus on the roots wherever they get it done. If they have been coloring their own hair at a great, have decent skill, and they've been cleared to do that, usually it does not disrupt too much the rest of the lock. It is that he, I think, was using skill for loose hair and was providing that technique to her hair, and was a little dismissive about the process. So I had to just, say we need to. So that's as much as I could salvage. It's still on a pretty good course. You can see she no longer has those gray roots, but the other side of her head, that right side, has a little bit more loosening over here that we have to carry over to next sessions, and her ends look a little looser and a lot curlier. Her hair has grown. Overall, her hair has done well. We are going to revisit once her hair grays a little bit more at the roots, where the conditioned state that her entire locks are in, and approach color, at that point. Look at the options for color. Y'all, I'm trying to stop sharing my screen. And so just definitely knowing root touch-up versus whole head covering, and knowing that you don't often need to do the entire lot for a brand new install. Knowing the multiple processes involved, their purpose, and how they will affect the hair strand. A lot of hair color, lightening colors lift. They change the texture of hair. That is just how it works. And in that process, it's not that you're coloring your hair to change your texture, but that is a part of a lot of the way that the hair removes the pigment and lifts and things like that. So if you're locking hair, I talk a lot about hair curling around itself, around this pattern that we are creating, and it being really important that we don't disrupt that process too much. And if it is disrupted, that we are able to go in and help it along, help tighten it up, help pull loose hairs back in, not leaving that. What I noticed, and I cut my hair, I had locks for 13 years and cut my hair only one time. But you noticed progressively, I had no color in my hair anymore. I started my hair with half my hair colored and half, so now 3 inches colored, 3 inches virgin. And the hair that was colored basically disintegrated. It shed itself. It was drier. Color was lifted from it, and it was using a natural color, but I never cut that color out. It literally disintegrated itself out, just to say that our hair does have a different kind of shedding process, but that hair color, I even noticed it would separate. It's just the hair was more fragile, even though it was locked. Even though I didn't color after. At that point, I hadn't put any color in my hair until I started doing root touch-up gray within the past 7 years. I had no color processing done in my hair, and all that color just did it. It just itself went away. So it's just interesting. Colored hair needs to be treated differently, and a lot of the treatments that are done to colored hair when it is loose will be disruptive to locking when your hair is locked. And I emphasize strength for the size locks that we have. I feel like that's probably one of the most important things that you really want to focus on is strength. Obviously, aesthetics are great, but then that's kind of second. I like refined, neat hair, but strong hair. And anytime you compromise or weaken, it's much more dramatic on a small, tiny lock than it would be on a bigger lock, even though bigger locks break all the time as well. They have similar issues. Their processing is a little different, and product usage is different in bigger locks. So that's just something that I'm going to do. Now, there's one thing that really also grinds my gears. I'm about to go in a little bit. I might hurt people's toes. Those darn color waxes are like kryptonite to new locks. I know people are excited about color, changing their hair and not having to use permanent color. But if your locks are newer, forming in a process somewhere where they're still, I want to say even within like that first year or so, but it also depends on your texture and how your hair is locking. I see it. I see the loosening that's happening towards the end. But again, it's everyone's their own. You have a right to know what's right for you. I can't tell you, that's not what you should want, whatever you want. But I know that it is affecting the process of your hair locking. And I see, and over time, especially for people who use those a lot, who are still having their hair in the process of locking, that those waxes are basically detangling it, and they're like puffy in some areas, which is why I'm not trying to shameless plug, but behind me I have the color clip-ins that I created. But I just feel like that's not something that we should be putting in newly formed locks at all. To do the color change and highlighting and all that stuff. Looser hair, I think, is much better option because you can really clean it out. The looser hair, it probably does some conditioning effect to their curls. It helps define it. So it's a whole different purpose. But yeah, so that's one thing to avoid. The second thing to avoid is just overly harsh processing, unskilled people, unskilled coloring. I've seen people lighten their hair, try to do blonde, and then color back dark again because I guess it just wasn't giving them the results, or maybe they just changed it back, and then I can see the difference in the lock. Like the overall appearance of it has been altered, even though it's back to a darker color. And they often sometimes have to go in and like it's a little puffier now, it's a little fatter, it's a little more swollen. So color is something I always feel like it's a good option when it's done by a skilled professional, when an option that's used is done that's going to help enhance and not counter the results you're trying to get. And I was fragile to color before locking. And so if you just think about like my hair would literally like melt. Has anybody ever seen that? That's why you don't like perm and color so close together. But I would have the gap, the time between, and I used to play around with box color, and I would see my hair strands come out, and then I see them like melt, like it would like eat away the entire hair strand. So I was very, very, very careful going forward. That's why I didn't color my hair. And I noticed a lot of people are coloring locks over the years. I didn't lighten it. But once I got gray, I was like, okay, I want to color this. And I just understanding a little bit about the structure of hair and what happens when you do different types of coloring processes was helpful. And then I stick to more natural. So I talk about Herbatin all the time, but that's the only thing that I've used to cover my grays. And I like it. It's healthier. And then when I wanted to experiment with color, as you guys know, may or may not know, I've been doing the extensions as well since 2009, and I wanted to get really creative with colors. So that's when I created the different colored extensions, and I played around. You check out photos on my pages and see. I have a purple and some, and I was like, I thought about that being a much better option for people who want temporary color pops than to play around with waxes, especially when the hair is newer. But what I do it now, I don't know if I would even put it in my hair now. My hair is 13 years old. I just have an issue with too excessive product, coating strands in hair, then trying to, I don't know, get it out. And if it's not something natural, like that's nutrient dense, like an oil with different herbs in it or something like that, then I tend to say just proceed with caution. Don't overdo it, and think about how it's affecting your process of your locks. All right, so thank you guys for joining this convo. I'll continue to update on hair color and other colors, other examples. But yes, and shameless plug behind me. Here's my little clippings. I'm gonna make these available. A lot of people are asking about custom orders. Blue and pinks and different things. I make them so they can be clipped in and clipped out. You might have seen some of my IG videos, some videos I put where I'm putting them in. That's me in the lab. Like my brain is focused and I'm like, how can I make this look better? How can I make this look more realistic? I started because last year, my birthday, I was turning 40, March 25th last year, we went into shutdown. I was gonna make color clips for myself. I was going on a cruise and I was like, I want purple clip-ins. I want pop of color. I just want to have fun. And we had our cruise was booked. We were ready to go. Everything was paid for. And 2 weeks before we were set to sail out, they were like, shutdowns, all cruising and whatever. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna keep making these clip-ins. That really kind of pushed me to want to experiment with my extension work to make it. They need to curl. They need to be waterproof. They need to have color. I wanted to go swimming with them. I wanted to go from day to night quickly, and I wanted them to curl. I wanted to do all that. So it's something just one of my little hobbies and things that I've been doing for a long time. So I thought about that just to add that in for this discussion on color, and there are people who have asked, and I had an action on my site. Then now it's not visible. It's going to go back up. It is such a there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to do it, but it will be available. I will roll it out formally again and make it so that you can actually get it, because there's a lot of people questioning and asking. I just want them to be good. I don't want to give you something, that's not good. All right, y'all. Okay, all right. Bye, IG. Facebook group. It's been fun. I hope you have a good rest of your day. All righty. Bye.